morning! Wake up! It's AM! I am Aurora.
And I am Malin, and you're listening to
AM Radio.
Wake up, it's AM!
As usual, we're starting off with our mystery segment.
This is the part of the show where we pick a random theme and talk about that for about 10 minutes. But you guys already know all about this.
So let's pick a theme out of our imaginary hat. Drum roll, please.
This week's theme is Indigenous people. Lucky for you guys, this is a theme I know a lot about.
Yeah, let's start simple and explaining what Indigenous people are. According to Merriam-Webster, our trusty source, the word indigenous means produced, living, and existing naturally in a particular region or environment. Whoa, that's a mouthful. Therefore, Indigenous people are roughly the same as native people.
That's true. To save time, we'll focus on three kinds of Indigenous people: the Lakota Indians, the Maori, and the Aboriginals.
Should we start off with the central facts, perhaps?
Yeah, well, the Lakota Indians are a tribal Native American group that are located in the northern part of the United States. Although a large number of Indians have changed their lifestyle to fit into American culture, several tribal groups carry out their daily affairs on Indian reservations. The Lakota Indians' primary location is in South Dakota and North Dakota. Today, there are about 70,000 registered Lakota Indians.
Wow, that's so interesting. I didn't know all about that. Okay, so let's move on onto the Maori. The Maori are the indigenous people of New Zealand, the country they call Aotearoa. that's hard to say. The long white cloud. Today, they comprise about 15% of the country's population. What I find quite interesting is that the Maori language and culture have had and has a major impact in all facets of New Zealand life. Their native language is Te Reo Maori, and it is one of the official languages in New Zealand.
Do you know some of it?
Yeah, sure. Kia ora means hello, and Heare mai means welcome.
Here am I.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, moving on, shall we? The Aboriginals are Australia's Indigenous people. Recent government statistics counted approximately 400,000 Aboriginal people, or about 2% of Australia's total population. Most Aboriginal people speak English as their first or second language, and there were approximately 300 different Aboriginal languages spoken in 1788, but now there are only about 75 remaining. The largest language in terms of number of speakers is called the Western Desert language.
Whoa, that's so cool! Well, the Maori have some weird traditions, let me tell you about that. For example, the haka is a tradition that has been passed down for generations. It is basically a war dance. Hakas are chanted Maori poems with expressive movements.
Really? What's the purpose of it?
Well, they are used for greetings and to challenge and intimidate enemies before battle. But the All Blacks, which is the New Zealand's rugby team, have performed this dance before every game since 1905. Another Maori tradition is tamoko. Tamoko is the same as a tattoo. These tattoos began with the Maori warriors and is now an important element in the Maori lifestyle. Tamoko is a core component of Maori culture and an outward expression of commitment and respect.
Wow, well, the Lakota Indians have some special traditions as well. Lakota men and women are known for the long hair, which they only cut when in grief.
Yeah, that's true. In the Disney movie Pocahontas, almost everyone had that long, shiny black hair.
Yeah, that's right. There are many different traditional Lakota hairstyles, but long braids were the most common. On special occasions, the Lakotas also painted their faces and arms with bright colors and animal designs.
Do the Aboriginals have some fancy traditions?
I don't know about fancy, but in many Aboriginal societies, men used a bull roarer to frighten women and unskilled males at ceremonial events. The bull roarer is a decorated and shaped piece of flat wood. It is attached to a line and swung around above a person's head to produce a whirring sound. The sound is usually said to be the voice of important spirits of the land. A well-known instrument, on the other hand, is the didgeridoo, a long tube made from a piece of wood that has been hollowed out. These long trumpets are played in situations connected to ritual dancing.
I can imagine it. Okay, so let's talk more about the historical aspects of these people. The Maori ancestors arrived in New Zealand on canoes from Pacific Islands about 1200 AD. The Maori settled on the coast and lived in small tribal groups. They lived off the sea and the land and developed a unique culture with their own language, a rich mythology, and distinctive crafts. Seeing as Maori was a warrior culture, tribal wars were common. In 1840, the Treaty of Waitangi was signed by representatives of Britain's Queen Victoria and various Maori chiefs. In this way, New Zealand became a part of the British Empire.
For the Aboriginals, the arrival of James Cook in 1770 marked the beginning of the end for their ancient way of life. Cook was soon followed by the arrival of the First Fleet in January of 1788 under the command of Captain Arthur Phillip, with a mission to establish a colony and take control of Australia for settlement. Losing control of their own land, the Aboriginal people became independent on white food and clothing.
Dependent, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
dependent.
sorry. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Continue.
Disease also became fatal for the Aboriginal people, who until that point had been isolated for thousands of years from the diseases that had found place through Europe and Asia.
Yeah, that's true. They had no resistance whatsoever to the deadly viruses carried by the sailors, such as smallpox, syphilis, and influenza. In less than a year, over half the indigenous population living in Sydney had died from smallpox.
Yeah, sad, isn't it?
Yeah.
In the beginning of 1974, some Lakota activists had taken steps to become independent from the United States in an attempt to form their own fully independent nation. In 2007, a group of Lakotas under the name of Lakota Freedom Delegation traveled to Washington, D.C. to announce a withdrawal of the Lakota Sioux from all deals with the United States government.
Yeah, okay, so should we talk about the situation today, like the current status?
Yeah.
The Maori culture has had has had a strong revival in the last century, and their traditions have become a more integrated part of New Zealand society. The Maori language has been one of the official languages, as I mentioned before, of New Zealand since 1985, and you might be surprised to see that many places have Maori names. Ever since the mid-19th century, when Maori members first entered Parliament, the Maori have played a role in government in New Zealand. Today, Maoris are active in all are active in all parts of New Zealand society. Though, as with the Native Americans and Australian Aboriginals, a significant proportion of the population have economical and social problems.
Yeah, and Lakota Indians have the highest rate of child mortality and the lowest life expectancy of 55 years in the US.
That's so sad.
I know, and drug abuse and alcoholism have become mass problems among the American Indians. In the past, discrimination has been the common reaction towards American Indians. This led to less opportunities for education, jobs, and also smaller social communities where the Lakotas are isolated from the rest of the citizens.
Yeah, and they also face big problems when trying to hold on to their own traditions as well as being integrated into the US culture. This problem is often central for many indigenous people.
Yeah, and holding on to traditional ways of life is also one of the biggest social problems facing Aboriginal people. Many Aboriginal communities have hired teachers to help in the efforts to preserve the traditional language for future generations. And life in urban areas where the standard of living is very low, this has bred a high level of violence and alcoholism among Aboriginal people. In an attempt to reverse this trend, some older males have kidnapped young men and taken them off to traditional lands.
Whoa.
Yeah, I know. And once removed from the city, they are enrolled in a kind of scared straight rehabilitation program.
Why?
Yeah, I know, it's sick. And they have been mixed reactions to this, both within Aboriginal societies and in the larger Australian society.
Okay, guys, ending on that note, that concludes our weekly mystery segment. We hope you all have enjoyed it and have learned a bit about indigenous people. Thank you to everyone who actually sat through this. And until next time, I am Aurora.
And I am Malin, and you're listening to
AM Radio. Up next, we have music from Adele, James Bay, and 1975. So stay tuned. Bye, guys.
Bye.